How do you navigate a late career layoff? Hey folks, welcome back. Thank you for joining us. This is Master Plan Retirement Consultants Retirement Roadmap. My name is Evan, and with me as always, retirement planner Mark Fricks. During this episode, we'll walk through practical steps for workers who find themselves laid off close to retirement. Mark, more than 60,000 people were laid off in March of 2026, with job cuts hitting hardest in transportation, technology, healthcare industries. We've seen this firsthand with some of our clients as well. When they are within a few years getting close to retirement, they've been building up their plan, they've been saving for their retirement date, and then an untimely message from boss comes through and they're laid off. And the closer you are to retirement, there's that buffer zone where you feel like I'm not quite ready yet, but
or you don't have the confidence.
I don't have the confidence. Yeah. So we're going to talk about that today. Some options, some things to consider if you find yourself in that sort of situation.
Yeah, and it seems to happen mostly to people that like middle management. They've been there 25, 30 years. They keep the younger folks making less money.
Right.
And then say, hey, we know you're 2 years from. Thankfully, this is going to be a weird statement, okay? From that standpoint, thankfully, most people don't have a pension anymore. So I remember years ago, they would lay you off like 1 year away from being eligible for your pension or something. That was horrible.
Yeah.
So now at least you have your 401k and things like that. But yeah, they do many times chop off that middle to even upper management positions. They save a lot of money. And that's where companies tend to get kind of overweighted when times are good as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a common problem. We saw it a whole lot in 2008 through 2011. I can remember a couple of clients that were 5 years away, and they were making six figures pretty easily. And, they didn't want to turn on Social Security because they wanted to get another job. They looked and looked and looked, and finally 3 years later had to just bite the bullet and take off,
Yeah.
So it's a problem that will not go away.
Yeah, sure. It's going to happen and will continue to happen.
Yeah.
But one of the things we'll have to discuss today is if you are laid off close to retirement, evaluate your financial situation before deciding, okay, whether or not it's time to seek a new job, or do we retire early? And that's going to, you have to consider multiple financial situations. As also your age is an important factor. And not just 59 and a half.
Right.
Even 65 is a big landmark because we know healthcare is a
Medicare.
massive, especially now,
Right.
as expensive as it's gotten. That's one of our biggest considerations talking to clients about retiring early. Well, what are you going to do for healthcare?
And then you have the question, are you getting a severance?
Yeah.
Maybe you're getting paid for 6 months or a year. I had one client, and I won't say who they worked for, but there have been rumors of layoffs. He bypassed the first one. He bypassed the second round. Third round came around. It was actually a bigger offer. He was closer to the right age.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, he left me a voicemail. So happy. I got this money and I'm walking away.
Yeah.
So it was really a cool moment. But thankfully, he had that opportunity and he was close enough to retirement. It's not always that happy of a proposition.
Right. Well, one of the first steps to do if you are laid off close to retirement is before you make any decisions, pump the brakes on spending. Conserve what you have while the dust settles, because every dollar saved is buying you time and buying you options.
Yeah, and look around what's going on. Do you have too many streaming subscriptions going on, things like that. Track your spending for a month or two. We don't realize what we're spending our money on.
Yep.
It's really and cancel some things. Maybe you don't need all these things you had before. But I think that's a great point, is start looking at where you can cut spending, and just, every dime not going out the door is an extra dime, like you said, either in your pocket or that you don't have to come up with later.
Yeah, and your first step really is also one of your first steps in retirement planning is run the numbers. How much do you really need per month?
Yeah, take a look at least 3 months back. And we have a great spreadsheet, Evan, I think you've got one you use as well, that has all these areas listed that we normally don't think about. Oh, I didn't think about I get a cup of coffee every morning on the way in. That adds up big time. I didn't think about I eat out at lunch instead of bringing my lunch. That's a lot of money right there. And you start tracking all that, and you really realize how much money is going at the door that is not a necessity. It's fun, or it's good, or it's easy, or it makes life easier. But now it's time to batten down the hatches or go to the mattresses, as they
Yeah, that's right. So once you've kind of determined what your monthly need is as your base, then you need to start considering your income options. What's available for you? Retirees who are at least 59 and a half can tap into their qualified accounts, their tax advantage retirement accounts, such as 401ks, IRAs, 403bs, Roths. But those younger than 59 and a half, they will incur a 10% tax penalty for
Unless
most.
it's in the 401k.
For most
Yeah, you were
withdrawals
gonna say that, weren't you?
from these accounts, yeah. And go ahead and explain that.
Well, yeah, if you've got a 401k and you've left that company either through retirement or separation or whatever, this is the point Evan was getting ready to bring up, and I interrupted him. But you can access in many plans your 401k after age 55.
Right.
And so don't let somebody come along and roll 100% of your 401k into an IRA. Now you have a penalty.
If you're
until
55,
59 and a
between
half.
55 and 59
Again, you got to
and a
be
half.
careful. Don't do it alone. I mean, get some help
Yeah.
because there's so many different laws and things going on. Apply for unemployment.
Yeah.
You know, step one, it's not a lot, but it's something. Look for part-time work, and you may be going through all this stuff here. You know?
No, this is good, and because it really is such a specific case-by-case basis, because there's so many factors between a person's need, a person's age, how close they were to retirement, the likelihood of being picked up, back up, or what kind of job you would be looking for if you're not ready to retire.
Maybe you're close enough you can find something part-time.
Yeah.
You know, just to fill a void, or at least maybe while you're looking again. Again, how you just said it. How close are you to retirement, and how close are you really to retirement? Maybe you've never really run some real numbers like we run for folks.
Yeah.
Just like the reports we run for folks. You that are listening, watching today, we'll go ahead and mention it. Our website is masterplanretire.com, and on there's this little button that says schedule a meeting, and so it's complimentary. And we basically have a chat initially, right? Kind of find out more about your dreams, your goals, your fears. One of your fears is, hey, I just got laid off, right? And then let's run some numbers and see, maybe you are okay. Maybe nobody's really run the real numbers, you know, and we'll help you determine what you need per month. We'll maybe help you a little bit with what can be cut, what will change. You know, when you're not working anymore, some expenses go away. Right? So what does go away? Maybe your house is going to be paid off in 4 years. You know, can we accelerate that a little bit? There's so many things to look at. But those reports are complimentary, and it will show you where you're at. This is whether you're facing being laid off or not, of course, but just today's show being that. But find out where you're at, and part of that can be these reports we run. So masterplanretire.com, or the old-fashioned way, 770-980-9262. And we do take appointments over the phone. So.
And Zoom and everything else you can imagine.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm giving a lot of points on income and things to consider, but really, just like our clients, when we're creating a plan, you need an income plan. If the worst happens and you lose your job or are laid off, if our clients are in that situation, or a client happens to find themselves in that unfortunate situation, the adjustment is typically much simpler because they already have an income plan laid out. They already have their numbers. They already know what they need. It's way easier to look and say, okay, this is where we are. This is where we need to be. This is what we need to solve for. It's already laid out for. So a lot of what I'm saying and giving ideas are things that really need to be in place already for a complete retirement plan. You should already have these numbers. So yeah, if you're curious at all about your own retirement, check out the website. Mark is right, those complimentary consultations are super helpful, and those are no strings attached. It's just an opportunity to get a better viewpoint of your own retirement and get organized and really know where you stand. Yeah.
Well, an example, you know, we have a client, they've been probably a client about a year. They're still in phase one of putting that roadmap together. But we were talking last night during a Zoom call, and he said, Mark, she's retired this month. She took part of the government buyout. But he said, Mark, I just don't know if I can make it, you know, another year and a half. So I said, well, let's take your income plan, which we already have, and I said, let me make some adjustments. Let's update the numbers, and let's see if we can close that gap and you can get out of there by the end of the year, because your life's too short, stress is too strong. Yeah. That's a health concern right there. So, but you could see he just kind of went, yeah, okay. So maybe I can. I said, you know, I think you can, but let's run the numbers.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool.
So after you've considered your income options, do be careful turning on income that isn't reversible. So look first at flexible sources, general savings and emergency savings. If you have those, of course, that's the perfect first step back up. Potentially even home equity. We touched on that a little bit. But before tapping into your retirement accounts, again, it depends on your age. It depends on where you are, how close you are to Social Security age. You also don't want to turn that on too early if you think you might be going back to work, or if you have retirement accounts that can bridge the gap so you can wait on Social Security a little longer. There's a lot to consider. And none of them are in a vacuum.
No,
either.
they're not. Every situation is different. That's why we love our job, is because it's never the same with any client. But just to reiterate what you're saying, if you turn on Social Security, let's say you get laid off at 64, you turn it on, and then a year later you get an offer to go to another company or maybe do consulting work, you have a limit on how much money you can take if you're on Social Security before age 67. So that's a decision you got to be careful with.
There's also some really interesting tools that are not fit for everybody, but there is something called the substantially equal periodic payments. We call it the 72T.
Right.
But it's an option for, if you are under 59 and a half, you can actually take penalty-free withdrawals from your IRAs before 59 and a half.
With no penalties.
Yeah, and it is substantially equal periodic payments every year. And it is the greater of 5 years or 59 and a half, right?
Right. If you start them at age 52, you've got to keep taking them to at least 59 and a half. If you start them before 5 years, let's say I'm 57, I've still got to keep doing it for 5 years.
For 5 years, yeah.
Yeah. So, and they're basically roughly 4 to 6% of your IRA balance. That's a rough estimate. There's 2 or 3 different ways you can calculate that. But you are tied to keeping it going for 5 years, or like we said earlier, 59 and a half. So make sure it's what you want to do. And we've used it several times, sometimes just to convert money, sometimes because they needed it.
Yeah,
So,
we've done it for both in converting money to more tax-efficient vehicles. But also keep in mind, if you are at the age that you really are just trying to find a gap filler and you do anticipate going back to work, those withdrawals, those 72T withdrawals will continue. Even if you get a new job, that's going to add to your income. You'll be in that much more of a higher tax bracket
a little bit. Yeah, so again, a decision that can't be made in a vacuum, has to be all together with everything we've talked about so far.
Yeah. But is it true that people of any age can utilize that option? Mm-hmm. So
yeah, one time I had a 30-something-year-old do it because they had a big IRA and they wanted to start getting it out then into more of a tax-efficient vehicle.
Then you're locked in for a long time.
You're locked into 59 and a half.
Shoo.
You got to think about it.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a commitment.
Man.
It's like right behind marriage, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, of course. Yeah. It's pretty close. Longer than some marriages.
Yep.
So once you've ran those numbers, you got to make the deliberate decision. Are you going to go back to work, or is this actually early retirement? Either way, it's better to know than to assume or to just kind of float around. I'm not sure what's happening. But again, we've also got to reevaluate our Social Security strategy. We didn't dig too much in this, but we don't want to take Social Security too soon just as a knee-jerk reaction. I mean, you can turn it off, but starting benefits at 62 can result in a permanent 35% reduction in your monthly payment.
Yeah, and another idea too. I don't know if we're done with the Social Security discussion or not, and we can certainly come back to it. But if you're married, you have a spouse. I would assume that's the way it works, right?
Yeah, typically.
Married, you have a spouse. Yeah. So if you have a spouse, maybe they can go back to work. Maybe they have some skills they can utilize, and then maybe they've been out of the workforce. Maybe they can increase their workload or whatever it may be as well. So many times you have a team working together for something like this. So that's and then maybe that's a point you were going to bring up later as well. And plus, if you're home and you have children, stop the child care.
Yeah.
That's a younger position typically, but again, just these ideas you have to think about. It's just, again, we got to determine, is it a short term, a long term? Is this going to launch us into retirement, or is this going to be something we've got to bridge that gap? Yeah. That's got to come into play.
And if you are closer to retirement, consider fractional jobs, contracting, where professionals do high-level work on a limited basis. We've got a lot of clients who either get bored or just are in retirement. Someone reaches out to them from their old job, and they all of a sudden are making a lot of money doing contracting work part-time, seasonally even.
And if companies are laying these people off, maybe they're looking to replace them with part-time or consultants they don't have to give all these benefits to, and things of that nature. So there may be some openings for that just because the industry is laying off that particular occupation.
Yeah, I mean, it's becoming much more common. It could be a strong fit for pre-retirees that have that deep level of expertise. Something else to consider too, if it works for your situation and you're getting closer to retirement, some pre-retirees find real satisfaction in part-time work tied to something they generally enjoy, like whether it's working at a golf club or a bookstore. I've got some clients who work at a garden center because they just enjoy it. You know, they're not, you know, relying on that for their full paycheck, but it's helping them bridge the gap, and they enjoy it, and they're stress-free, hanging out and.
They may be doing it at home anyway, gardening.
And they do. Yeah.
Exactly.
They do,
so now they get a discount on their plants as well.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
So I could tell you, I have a list of probably 50 different things we have clients doing that they enjoy, and they're doing it. Could they use the money? It's nice. Do they have to have the money? Not necessarily, but they're still young enough. I mean, you know, if you're in your 60s and 70s, you're young in today's, you know, society and world we live in. And so it's hard to just stop working. I mean, if I'm 65 and I just stop working, I don't think I'd live very long. That's just me personally. But I'm just saying I've got to be involved in something, and I love what I do, so I don't want to leave this. But if I didn't like what I do, again, getting a job at a golf course and getting a free round of golf every week because I work at a clubhouse or whatever it may be. We've got now. I don't want this to get into a what can you do in retirement discussion, but I mean, I could just tell story after story of folks that, do something they enjoy, like driving. I think I've told this story before, but I was at a repair shop waiting on a part to get my car fixed. And this Napa truck pulled up. This guy that had to be in his 80s got out and took the part in and went back and drove off. That's his job, is to deliver parts. He gets to drive around most of the day, walks 20 steps back and makes some money, and he enjoys driving, being out, and about things like that. And that's just one example of things you could do. Again, this may be just a stopgap something, but just ideas like that. And, as we were talking about this came into my mind. Maybe you just need to talk to somebody like us, not for us to necessarily solve all your problems, but just to bounce back, because we have so many ideas and so much experience.
You've seen a lot
dealing with this kind of stuff. And so maybe, I can remember when I was between jobs many years ago, and, I had a kid or two at home that were young, and the feeling getting up in the morning of hope, but also desperation of, I've got to get a paycheck going. And sometimes I just needed somebody to talk to and just say, give me some ideas, throw some, network with me or talk to me. What can I be doing or whatever? We can be that for you as well. Again, that first meeting or two, it could just be, let's talk about this.
Yeah, and we started dipping our toes into the Social Security conversation on kind of when to turn it on, whether to get a new job. But one thing to consider, we just need to make sure we say out loud, is that if you turn it on too early, you can't make too much money. So if you are turning it on Social Security before your full retirement age, then you can only make, what's the limit?
It's a little over $24,000 this year. I can't give you the specific, but keep in mind that that's money you earn. It's not money you take out of an IRA or anything like that. I went and got a job, I'm getting paid, it's being reported by 1099 or W-2, or maybe you have a small business you're running, that counts toward earned income if you have a profit as well. So be careful.
So again, you need to determine, am I looking for a job? What's my timeline? Or are we retiring? So you need to make sure you have that later.
Or am I looking for a job that pays less than $24,000?
Sure.
That's the other thing.
Yeah, just a nice under the table job, right? No. But speaking, this popped in my head. I know we're kind of rambling, but there are so many different options. There's a local guitar shop that I frequent, and a couple of the guys there are retired technically. One does work there, he does pull a paycheck. The other guy is there just about as long, but he just hangs out, and he'll talk to people about guitars and give them advice. I think he's probably sold more. Just
I can see you do that when you're 75.
I love it, hanging out. It depends, how it depends on the atmosphere and if I like the guitars, if it's vintage enough.
It's kind of like the old barber shop, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure.
I think our producer Ross, I think he probably would hang out at the mechanic shop or.
That's what I was thinking.
He's already got a spot. Yeah, he's already hanging out at the mechanic shop with the retirees. But there's so many options, and again, I think one of the approaches is if if you have the option and the opportunity, find something that's going to genuinely breathe life into you, something that's going to make your work, if you're able to make life happier and to simplify, to make things a little bit more enjoyable for yourself and make most of the time, right?
Yeah, had a lady that loved kids, and she was her late 50s, if I remember correctly, and just started keeping kids in her home.
Yeah,
3 or 4 kids, and the parents loved it because they knew her. The kids weren't in some institutional, that's probably the wrong word, or child care or commercial child care place or whatever. They knew they were being taken care of, and the price was better, the whole bit. So she made some money, and parents were happy, kind of thing. Again, I keep throwing out these ideas. I probably shouldn't keep doing that, but I just have these stories that keep popping up in my mind, what people are doing.
And I think mindset too is one, once you get past the initial shock, savor the downtime for a little while as well. I mean, I know it can be a little stressful, but one, I would say take advantage of the opportunity to maybe reset and rest a little bit. Take advantage of that. But then also, alluding to what you mentioned before as well, don't navigate a late career layoff alone. Leaning on friends and family for encouragement, for perspective, that's not weakness, that's wisdom, right? So you may also find more people have been through something similar than you would expect. And then also, if you have networks that especially late career, you probably have a ton of networks to reach out to for new positions. I mean, it's always daunting to have to time to set up the resume. And, we've heard so much about how frustrating it is applying these days, especially with so much AI being used on both ends.
1 in a million, needle in a haystack type of thing.
Connect to the people you know in the industries and see what positions are open if that's the path you want to go. Also keep in mind, if you have savings or severance package, use that breathing room deliberately. Put that as part of your plan so you know what you're covering.
I was going to mention that if you do get a severance package, I'm not saying go to Europe, okay? We don't need to be spending $12,000, but go fishing, go hunting, go hang out with your friends, go, take the family maybe on a short weekend trip or whatever, because you may not get another vacation for a while if you start a new position. Yeah. Could be a year or two away. So again, I'm not saying go out and spend money. Be careful with that. But there's a lot of things you can do to go out and relax and without spending an arm and a leg, so to speak.
Well, some of the best retirement decisions come out of that quiet stretch where people finally have space to think and to ask, what do they actually want next? I'm not retired yet. Never done that before. However, there have been times, I can think of one really big one, where I was on vacation from a time where life was just crazy and busy, and I felt like I was kind of stuck in limbo, didn't know where I was going with career and goals in life and stuff. And vacation was just enough time reset away that it kind of reset my perspective, and I had an aha moment, and it really reshaped the rest of my life from that point, like my sense of direction of what I wanted to pursue from that point on. So, when I say your mindset, take advantage of the time off, it is hard to get past the being let go from a position. Once that shock, be easy on yourself as well, but once that shock is over, really do take some deliberate downtime to rest up, to focus on your personal, emotional, mental health, and who knows what might actually come out of that, what kind of direction you'll be sent.
And if you have a spouse, again, share with them your fears and thoughts and what they think, because they see you in a different way. They say, well, you've always enjoyed this, or you've always done that, or whatever. Yeah. Just, again, that encouragement that can be there as well. So just a lot of things to think about. I do encourage folks, if this is even something on the horizon, like you've gotten a little bit of scuttlebutt and there could be something going on here, go ahead and reach out to us. Yeah. We are a caring, listening ear. We are here to help financially. We have a lot of ideas as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, masterplanretire.com.
Plan well and prosper.
That's right.
Join us again next time, okay? Thanks.